just turn that off. And it's good to see the people on Zoom. Hello, Catherine, and hello, Reverend Sylvia and Robin. Okay, well, it's been a week for all of us. What a week. I usually give thanks for the elements, the fire, air, earth and water, every day. I bless my car, I do all the right things, and got up on Tuesday and the hot water system packed up. But do you know what? It took me a while to work out what Spirit was probably saying. It was an old hot water system. And thank goodness it stopped while I was there because there was water leaking and a few other things happening. Anyway, I rang my friend and they said, don't worry about it. The government will give you a free one. And I thought, I have to go through all the ritual, the rigmarole, the paperwork. And something inside me said, do it. Think positive. It's a gift. A brand new hot water system. I don't know about you, but when I'm in the shower, I say, thank you for the element of water, fire, air, earth and water. And I'm standing on the earth, the water's here and the sun warmth is on me, and it really is. Wash me inside, outside, upside, downside, body, mind and spirit. I'm glad you can't see me when I do this. 20 years ago I couldn't have cared less. But okay, now it's been another week too, and Wayne's going to be pleased. We've actually got a new Unity magazine.
Yay!
But yes, and it was there when I checked the mail yesterday, and I looked at it and I rang Diane Lennon, and she may do a review for us, not just yet, but it's a completely different sort of feel. We've got Robert Ojito, who's an astrologer. And he actually works with Caroline Mace, I think that's how you pronounce it, isn't it? Miss Mace. And there's some very good articles in it. A lot of things dealing with young people. It really is amazing that how they're advertising it and the things you can get, prayer protection cards and heaps there. So we look forward to getting a review of that when she's up to it. Maureen's up to it. Diane's up to it. Now, today's talk might seem a bit irreverent, but it's called So It Is. What is it? It's an impersonal name for the infinite intelligence in whom we live, move and have our being, yesterday, today and forever. And I think in our meditation, Jeanette referred to our passage of time through this lifetime, our journey through this lifetime, and it is. And as we get older, we realise it is a journey. Nothing stays the same. Now, we are that it in expression. Some have to personalise it, which I tended to do, and I still find I'm better off doing that. Some call it Father, Mother God, whatever, Allah. And it's amazing, sometimes it's best not to say anything because people get upset if it's a name you don't understand or they don't understand. It's the same infinite intelligence. But that's how it is. We're all at different stages of this infinite intelligence. And it's unfolding whether we like it or not, and we're kicking and screaming as we look in the mirror and say, stop, but it can't stop. And I came in here very early this morning, and I went through the books there and I picked one up, which I was led to pick up. It's the Dalai Lama, the Four Noble Truths. And it was so interesting. He talks about this journey from the Buddhist perspective and how he talks about things we don't normally discuss in Unity, but people have written a book about it. Ernest Wilson wrote Have You Lived Before? Reincarnation. And it was a fascinating half hour I read down there. It was just so peaceful. And isn't this peaceful? This home. I got in here yesterday and just sat and thought we are so fortunate to have this wonderful building. Now, nothing is standing still, as we know. We just have to look back and see the changes. The days, the years, and on it goes and on it goes. And each generation builds on what the past has experienced. New music, new art, new architecture, new politics even. It's all built on something that went before. So nothing is permanent. And I now look at mountains as a couple on my way through to Ballarat, as I used to look at a couple in Tasmania, and I think, well, you're still going to be there when I'm gone. I don't like that, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, I just thought, well, dear old mountain, your turn will come eventually. Well, it will. So it's one of those things, you know, nothing is permanent. Now, it's quaint to think how it must have been before electricity. None would have been the wiser. They would have been quite happy, sitting there by candlelight. The ladies would have been knitting. I know this sounds terrible. And the blokes would have had their pipes and sort of doing whatever blokes do. I wouldn't have a clue. Electricity, which means we can now listen to music from the symphony orchestra and we can just spend more time. And I think since electricity, it's made our days longer. But you know, as we use electricity, I always give thanks for it, we didn't invent it. We've discovered the use of an eternal truth. The elements have always been there, but we had to go through lighting candles and that to get to this stage of light. And this electricity that now brightens our homes and other places like that, and halls, might have illuminated the Garden of Eden if they'd have known of its presence then. So we build on and build on and build on. And whatever past generations have perceived, we see. And we see even more now because we've got the opportunities from all that's gone on before us in the millennia. Ecclesiastes 1, verse 9 and 10. It's a tired old verse, but I love it. The thing that hath been is the thing that shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is that so? Yes, because everything is already there for us to tune into. That great spirit of whom we live and move, and we are it in expression, but we didn't invent it. That's the humbling thing. So we've got the tools to find out more and more of how to express more of it. We've been living in some time now where science and spirituality are not only compatible, but they realise it's only two sides of the one coin. Otherwise, we're looking at the same thing. And it's taken a while for this moment to arrive. Now free of persecution from the established churches, and those with a scientific mind are able to come up with the language used to describe scientific practical terms of what has been experienced inwardly by many mystics worldwide, regardless of ritual robe culture. And it's almost impossible to describe a mystic or a mystic experience. Why? Because it transcends our intellectual understanding. A mystic, in one definition, is one who's gone beyond the subjective here, this universal unconsciousness, this peace that we're living in with everyone's thoughts around the world. That's why it's important again in meditation that we join these other groups in uplifting the planet, that area around us, so that we keep peace around the world. The living presence of God has all been revealed from within themselves, not gained by outer means, although others on the way have given us some help. Thank goodness. So, what is science? A body of facts and truths systematically arranged and showing the operation of general laws. This constitutes a science. These have to be demonstrated, same as our spiritual truths have to be demonstrated. Anyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of mankind, a spirit vastly superior to that of mankind, says Albert Einstein. We've heard it from other scientists too. Now, from the book, The Divine Matrix, which we've studied here, it's a very powerful study group. You don't realise at the time, you think, oh yeah, it was a good study group, but things linger and you pick things up later after the seeds have been sown and you think, that's what they mean. There is a field of energy that connects all of creation. This field plays the role of a container, a bridge, and a mirror for the beliefs within us. The field is non-local and holographic. Every part of it is connected to every other, and each piece mirrors the whole on a smaller scale. And we communicate with the field through the language of emotion, feeling. Very bizarre ad in one of the papers. Should I tell you?
Go on.
It said, let your loved ones speak to you from the grave after the funeral. I thought, oh God. And anyway, what it is, you've all seen a holograph, have you?
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the best examples was in the Book of Mormon, where they have Jesus standing looking like the traditional Jesus in his robes, and he does all this sort of stuff, and just before the show starts, he ascends, and it's there, it's amazing. So what you do, you get your dear one, whoever it is, and you make a hologram of them while they're still alive. And so when you can go to their tombstone, you press a button, and, hello, how are you?
Yeah, no.
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 Isn't that terrible? I shouldn't have an opinion. But anyway, I think that was a little bit too spooky for me. Oh, I can feel your shock. Anyway, we have one mind, and the more it works, the better for us. We learn that whatever we focus on expands, and eventually we bring into the world all that we give our attention to, and there's no one to blame but ourselves. In most cases, and if we do have a bit of bad luck, it could be sort of a combination of thoughts around us we got caught up in mainstream, we still have that third unity principle. It's how we react to it is what we can control. And we know it can be a two-edged sword, but we live with the consequences of that boomerang law, the law of attraction. When we consciously or unconsciously thinking about something, it is in our lives. We impact the field and we draw from it according to our beliefs and expectations. I'm learning all the time to listen to spirit, and I don't always listen, much to my own detriment. But with my hot water packing up during the week, it's been an interesting week. I thought, where do you get a plumber around here? You don't. In Linton, which is 20 minutes out of Ballarat, they don't want to come out that way. Well, I drove down to the and there's a lady that does her artwork, and outside the front was a plumber. There was his van. And I thought, I don't have a pen to write it down. I thought, get off your backside, get out of the car and go in there. And I did, and he gave me his card. And he said, oh, I'm happy to come up here sometime. So I very nearly drove on. Because, sometimes you can't be bothered. And other times, you might be sitting somewhere like in here, and if your car's out there, you think, ooh, did I lock my car? And you say, oh, we're going to be all right. No, I now get up and do these things. I like it. And Stuart's had a hair-raising experience this week, and I've had it too, where you lose things like your phone and your wallet. He's got them back, but isn't it traumatic? Yeah. And that stays in our body. And someone gave me some very, very good information, which I'm checking up about how that trauma can stay in our body. And so I'm working on it now over the next month to get rid of some of it. I've got a friend who's got a clinic, and I'm going to be tortured like mad, but I'm going to have to do it. Because I look back, I haven't had a good session with a chiropractor or a masseur for 10 years. And the stuff that we've all put up with together over the last 10 years, we were a bit of it physically. But isn't it good we know it? And we're given the tools to do something about it. Thank you, God. How am I going? Okay. I wasn't going to do this, but I will. I've got a book called the Kybalion. It's ancient wisdom, and who was it by? Hermes Trismegistus, possibly the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. I forgot I had this, but it was interesting. I will show the slide, right? This is just to sum up science and spirituality together at once. All is mind, the universe is mental. As above, so below. As below, so above. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Everything is dual. Everything has its pair of opposites. Everything has its cause. Everything happens according to the law of cause and effect. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides, and all things must rise and fall. So there's some basic wisdom. And it's all here. How old this stuff is, it's ancient. And the book's only really been back out to the market for 20 years. I bought this one in from Unity Village in the States. So to sum up, we can learn from the mystics in science. The universe is abundant and accommodating. And it becomes comforting to know that the force is on our side. We'll eventually learn that through trial and error, because everything has its rules and regulations, and we are the same. How we treat our body temple will decide how our health is. Now, this can cause unease if we feel we're responsible for everything, but we choose to follow our inner guidance, like I was saying before, in little things first, then big things come through. And there's another book I can recommend is The Road Less Travels, and also another book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Don't rush out and buy the book, it's all in that title. And the other one is, we haven't really done much about it for a while, but the early Unity teachings, and especially when I was here, we always used to go through Emily Cady's Lessons in Truth. It's been updated many times, and really it's a fantastic introduction. Emily Cady was a naturopath, and I think she was a tough old girl. She didn't put up with nonsense. And a few people from Unity went to see her. Ernest Wilson, one of my favourite Unity ministers and writers, she took to him and they had some very, very good conversations you read about. And she didn't want to become labelled in any particular New Thought group. She didn't consider herself a member of Unity, but she had great influence on the Unity movement, especially when Charles Fillmore gathered together all the articles she wrote for Unity magazine and published them in 1896 in a single book. Now, nothing much is new since then. All the wonderful titles and young people in their wonderful corporate clothes doing their book here and there around the world. Isn't it good? The universe it's getting out there. When Jesus said, preach my gospel to the whole world, it's happening. And I always think, when I go back to the beginning of the story here, we build on what went before us. And that book by Emily Cady was one of the classics, and it still is. So it is. It works, and we want to see the laws of spirit work in our lives. We want to see our desires manifest in our lives now, for now is the only moment we've got. And we know this journey will go again, because Spirit wants us to express more and more. So when this body's over, maybe a bit of rest, and we come into another area of expressing that particular force. So to finish off with another quote, it works if you work it. Prove it to yourself. So be it. Amen. Thank you.